Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is Kelsey and I like to talk about books. So today's video is going to be the end of year book tag. I'm going to answer all of these questions talking about the books that I read this year. Let's just get started because I am really excited to answer these questions. So the first question is, are there any books you still need to finish by the end of the year? So I talked a little bit about this in my December TBR. I have 3 books that I would really love to finish in December that are top priority. Everything else is just like, I'll get to it if I can. So the books that I feel like I need to finish by the end of the year are Iron Flame by Rebecca Yarros, Blood Over Brighthaven by M.L. Wong, and Morning Star by Pierce Brown. I've already started Iron Flame and Blood Over Brighthaven. I'm like 80% through Iron Flame, if you would believe it, because I just posted my December TBR like last week and I had just started it and now I'm already almost done. I think I have like 5-6 hours left, so I'm doing really good. Blood Over Brighthaven, I think I'm like on page 300 out of like 500, so I'm doing really well there. Morning Star, I have not started at all, but it's only what? Oh, it's only December 10th and I've already almost finished 2 books, so we're doing good. So those are the books that I really need to finish by the end of the year. The next question is, are there any books you think could become a favorite of the year? I definitely think that I still have books that could become favorites. The 2 books I'm reading now, Iron Flame and Blood Over Brighthaven, are definitely in the running as of right now, especially Blood Over Brighthaven. I am loving that. And I've been entertained from the beginning, but these last like 50 or so pages have just been like insane. Like they've been really good. And it's sending the book in a really good direction that I'm excited to see what's going to happen. And Iron Flame, of course, it's one of my most anticipated reads ever since I read Fourth Wing. So Iron Flame has definitely not disappointed me yet. It's going in a good direction. I'm excited to see where it's going. It could definitely be a favorite of the year. Also, Morning Star, even though I haven't started it, it could definitely be a favorite as well because like it's the 3rd book in the trilogy, so I know some crazy things are about to go down. So I'm expecting Morning Star to be fantastic. That could also be a favorite. So we'll see. The next question is, what was the most disappointing read of the year? And if you watched my November wrap up, you might not be surprised to hear that my most disappointing book this year was probably Vita Nostra. And it wasn't even bad. Like, I don't want to come on here and say like it was super disappointing because I just really didn't like it and I was looking forward to it and it was terrible. It just disappointed me because it had been on my TBR for so long. And then when I finally read it, I just didn't love it the way I was hoping I would. So that's why it's the most disappointing book. But it's not a bad book. And I do recommend, if you're in the mood for like a dark academia, like weird book, then you should definitely read it. Also, another disappointing read this year was the Broken Earth trilogy by N.K. Jemisin. It wasn't bad. I honestly think that I read it at the wrong time because it just didn't live up to all the hype that I've seen around it. Like, I cared just enough. To like see it through and keep going and be interested enough to pick it up, but ultimately it just didn't live up to the hype for me. Oh, that's funny because the next question is, what was a book that didn't live up to the hype? I went in a different direction. Like, I could have said the Broken Earth trilogy for this one, but I chose None of This Is True by Lisa Jewell. I feel like this book got a ton of hype, and I love Lisa Jewell. I have loved every book that I've read by her. This one just didn't quite live up to the hype for me personally. And you know also what? The end. I felt like it ended and then it just kept explaining. Like what happened, and I was like, yeah, no, I get it. I get what happened. But like then it just kept going on and explaining like, oh, she did this and then she did that. And I'm like, yeah, like I get it. Can we just wrap this up? Please wrap it up. I think that's what killed it for me, is like throughout the whole book I was like, I was there, I was with it. And then at the end they over-explained everything and I was just like over it. Yeah, that one didn't quite live up to the hype for me. The next question is, name a book that surprised you. So not only a book, but a series that really surprised me this year, The Remnant Chronicles by Mary E. Pearson. I only read this trilogy because I wanted to read Dance of Thieves and Vow of Thieves, and everyone was like saying that was the best duology they've ever read. And I was like, oh, right, cool, I want to read that. And I also saw somebody saying that there was a prequel series and that you should read it before you read that because it makes everything else like make a lot more sense and you get a lot more out of the duology. So I was like, oh cool, like I guess I'll read the trilogy before. I mean, what do I have to lose? So I read it and it really surprised me because I ended up loving The Remnant Chronicles more than I loved the duology Dance of Thieves and Vow of Thieves. It really surprised me that I ended up loving the prequel trilogy more than the duology, even though everyone was going on and on about the duology, and I had never even heard of the Remnant Chronicles series before. That one, it really surprised me. So the next question is one that I'm really excited to answer. Your favorite book couples of the year. This year, I reread all of Sarah J. Maas's books, so I have all of those couples to choose from. This one is gonna come as no surprise to anyone who's read Throne of Glass, but one of my favorite book couples this year is Aelin and Rowan from Throne of Glass series. I just love them so much together. They are so complementary to each other. Like, she has what he needs and he has what she needs, and I just love them so much. Another favorite book couple was Elsie and Jack from Love Theoretically. I think out of all of Ali Hazelwood's books and characters, I love them as a couple the most. I just remember reading this and just like immediately loving their chemistry. They had such good chemistry together, and I just loved that book and I loved them together. It was amazing. Another favorite book couple is Clementine and Ian. I don't know if his name is actually Ian. I'm gonna put the spelling obviously up here, but like, yeah, we're just gonna roll with that. I loved them so much, and a little twist on their relationship is the fact that like the apartment was 7 years in the past. So he was 7 years in the past, she was 7 years in his future. And I just love how that played a part in their relationship, and I just love them together so much. One of the best book couples this year. And the next question is, who is a new favorite author you found this year? So for this, I have two authors. The first one being Ann Patchett. I read Tom Lake this year, and it's like one of my all-time favorite books now. So I went out and bought 2 more of Ann Patchett's books, and I'm hoping that she will become like a favorite author. As of right now, because I love Tom Lake so much, she is a new favorite author, and I'm just hoping that the rest of her work is just as good as Tom Lake. Another author that I didn't necessarily find this year but rediscovered this year is Kristen Hanna. I only read The Four Winds like last year or the year before, and that was the only Kristen Hanna book that I had ever read, and I did like that one. But this year I read 2 Kristen Hanna books, and I will never look back. I love her writing, and now I officially have loved all 3 books that I've read by her, and I will be picking up more and reading more in the future. So the next question is actually a really cute question, honestly. It is, what is the happiest book you read this year? My answer would have to be either Legends and Lattes or Ava Evergreen Semi-Magical Witch, because both of these are like super cozy, low stakes, like a warm hug type of books. So they made me very happy while reading them. The next question is, what is the shortest book you read this year? And that would have to be 84 Charing Cross Road. I don't know if it's Charing or Charing. There's only 1 R, so I think Charing, but I'm not sure. That book is tiny, and I read it in 1 sitting, and that's insane. I don't do that very often at all. Let me look up how many pages. Yeah, there's only 112 pages in that book. That's definitely the shortest one that I've read this year. Next question is, what was your favorite cover of the year? And I would have to say my favorite covers were Dance of Thieves and Vow of Thieves. Those are some of the prettiest covers I've ever seen, and I definitely want to own them someday. Every time I go to Barnes & Noble, I do look at them, and I'm like, today could be the day that I take them home, and it never is, but someday it will be. There's only 2 more questions left. The second to last question is, What is a book you haven't stopped thinking about? And just going off of the books I read this year, obviously, a book I can't stop thinking about is The Nightingale. It was so good, so beautifully written, such a heartbreaking and heartwarming story all at the same time. I read that in the summer. And yeah, I still haven't stopped thinking about it. I still remember so much about this book, and I think about the characters and I think about what they went through so often. And I think it's just going to be a book I never forget. The last question is, what are some books you read this year that you would reread? And I have a couple. So I think number one, a book that I would reread is The Nightingale. I would also reread Happy Place. I would reread any Emily Henry book, to be honest with you, especially Happy Place, because I feel like I read it really fast and I listened to the audiobook, so I would like to go back and physically read it so that I can like highlight some things, because there was a lot of like good quotes in there. And another book that I would reread is Tom Lake. I actually already have been thinking about that as well, because I also listened to this book and I listened to it so fast because I loved it so much, and so I would really love to go back and take my time and physically read it, one, so that I can own the book, and two, so that I can highlight again, because there are also so many quotes in this book. Although I think when I reread it, I will also be listening along to the audiobook, because Meryl Streep did such a phenomenal job narrating it, and I would really love to hear it again as well. So that is it for the end of the year book tag. I would really love to know what were some of your favorite books of the year, some of your most disappointing books of the year, and any books that you still want to read this year, because there is still time. There's like 21 more days left in December. Definitely leave me a comment down below and let me know, and I will be back with another video very soon.